One morning, Ghana tuned into the radio and found out their president was gone. No warning, just a calm voice on the radio saying Kwame Nkrumah is no longer in power. But how could this happen to a man who led Ghana to its independence in 1957, making Ghana the first sub-Saharan African country to break free from colonial rule? So what happened? Well, on the 24th of February 1966, while away on a diplomatic trip, the police and the military took control of Ghana. Today we're going to explore that, Ghana's first military coup, and how it reshaped Ghana's future. Let's talk about it. Before the coup, before the fear and the fallout, there was a dream. Kwame Nkrumah wasn't just Ghana's first prime minister or first president. He was the face of African liberation. Like I said in the introduction, he led Ghana to its independence in 1957, making it the first sub-Saharan African country to break free from colonial rule. But Nkrumah didn't stop there. His vision went far beyond Ghana. He dreamed of a united Africa, politically, economically, and culturally. He called for the United States of Africa, believing that only a strong, unified continent could resist neo-colonialism and foreign control. At home, Nkrumah launched ambitious development programs. He built roads, dams, schools, hospitals. He championed free education and expanded access to healthcare. He opened universities, supported science and technology. He promoted Pan-African culture and pride. In just a few years, Ghana became a symbol of possibility in Africa, a model of what freedom could look like. He won global admiration, and even civil rights leaders took notice. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. traveled to Ghana for its independence ceremony and called it one of the most moving moments of his life. So what happened? By the early 1960s, cracks began to show. Nkrumah was not just seen as a liberator anymore. He was seen as a leader who could not tolerate any sort of dissent or opposition. He passed the Preventative Detention Act, which allowed his government to arrest anyone without trial. Opposition parties were banned. Judges, journalists, student leaders, and even former allies were silenced or jailed. By 1965, every seat in parliament was controlled by his party, the Convention People's Party, CPP. He declared Ghana a one-party state and himself president for life. The economy was struggling. Cocoa, Ghana's main export, had collapsed in price. His massive infrastructure projects had pushed the country deep into debt. Inflation soared, basic goods were hard to come by, and salaries were delayed. The people were frustrated. And then there was the military. Nkrumah created a new force, the Presidential Guard, better paid, better equipped, and more loyal to him than the regular army. Meanwhile, the Ghana armed forces were underfunded and sidelined. Morale dropped. Officers grew resentful. And inside those ranks, a plan was forming. The coup was not spontaneous. It was planned. The key figures were Lieutenant General Emmanuel Kotoka, Colonel Akwasi Afrifa, and Police Inspector General John Harley. These men worked quietly, planned secret meetings, and formed trusted networks within the police and the military. They knew their moment would come when Nkrumah was out of the country. In February 1966, Nkrumah announced a trip to Hanoi in northern Vietnam to help mediate the Vietnam War. The coup plotters saw their chance. The operation was codenamed Operation Cold Chop. They mapped out targets: Radio Ghana, the airport, police headquarters, army barracks, the key ministries. Timing, coordination, and secrecy would be everything. On February 21st, 1966, Kwame Nkrumah left Ghana on a diplomatic trip, first to China and then to North Vietnam. The US reportedly encouraged this visit, even offering to pause bombings in Vietnam to ensure his safety. While he was away, soldiers in the north were ordered to march 400 miles south to Accra. At first, they were told they were being deployed to help with the crisis in Rhodesia. Later, some were even misled to believe that Nkrumah was planning to send Ghanaian troops to Vietnam. Once in Accra, their real mission was revealed: take over the country. The coup was well coordinated. Units moved swiftly to seize key sites: the radio station, government buildings, military posts, and the presidential residence, Flagstaff House. With the top army official out of the country, command fell to General Charles Bawa, who refused to support the coup. He was reportedly shot on the spot. At dawn on February 24th, Ghanaians heard this message over the radio: Kwame Nkrumah is no longer president. Resistance was strongest at the presidential compound, where the president guard fought back. But when Colonel Kotoka threatened to bomb the residence, Faithia Nkrumah, the president's wife, urged the guards to surrender. By noon, the coup was complete. Ministers were arrested, the CPP was banned, and Nkrumah's government had fallen. Although some reports say that this was a bloodless coup and no lives were lost, there are some reports that claim that hundreds, if not thousands, fought and lost their lives. But we actually don't know. Thousands of miles away, Nkrumah was actually in Beijing when he heard the news. He was stunned. His aides were speechless. Without warning, the leader who had brought Ghana its independence was now overthrown by his own military. After the shock settled, Premier Zhou Enlai of China welcomed Nkrumah with respect and hospitality. But Nkrumah knew there was no going back. He abandoned the rest of the trip and flew to Guinea, where his longtime ally, President Sékou Touré, offered him refuge, even naming him honorary co-president. From exile, Nkrumah spoke out. He claimed foreign powers were behind the coup, especially the United States and the Western intelligence agencies. In his memoir, published in 1969 called Dark Days in Ghana, he hinted at evidence that the CIA was involved in the coup. He would not return to Ghana afterwards. He spent the rest of his life in political isolation, speaking, writing, holding on to the Pan-African dream. He died in 1972 in Romania, far away from home, far away from the country he once led, far away from the country close to his heart. In the wake of the coup, Ghana fell under the rule of the National Liberation Council, led by Lieutenant General Joseph Ankara. They scrapped the constitution, banned the Convention People's Party, and erased Nkrumah's image from public life. Ghana quickly shifted course, cutting ties with the Eastern Bloc and opening its doors to Western aid, welcoming the IMF and the World Bank into its economy.
How is the reconstruction of the country going since the overthrow of the Nkrumah regime?
Doing very well indeed.
But military rule didn't bring peace. Ghana saw multiple coups in the years to come, plunging the country into decades of political instability. And yet, Nkrumah's presence never truly disappeared. Today, his face is on Ghana's currency. His statue is standing tall in Accra. His name is still spoken with reverence and controversy. For some people, He was Africa's boldest dreamer, a man who fought for unity, dignity, and freedom. For other people, he was a man who grew too powerful too fast and lost his people along the way. So in conclusion, the coup that ended Kwame Nkrumah's rule was ruthlessly planned and very sudden, but its impact echoes through generations. This wasn't just a coup, it was a defining moment in Ghana, and one of the most pivotal moments in Africa's post-colonial history. Now I have a question for you. What do you think about Kwame Nkrumah's legacy? Do you think that he was Africa's greatest liberator? Or do you think that he was a leader who lost his way? Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it in the comments section. I'm very curious to know what you think. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed this topic. I enjoyed researching about this. I enjoyed talking to Ghanaians about what they thought about Kwame Nkrumah's legacy. So I'm very curious to know what you guys think, and I will be reading the comments. But other than that, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But until next time, as we share more stories that are connected to our roots.